Feelings come, you like them, you don't like them. So what? Which Judy, that's one of my favorite songs by Miles Davis and John Coltrane.
Oh,
So
neat.
what? So feelings come, you like them, you don't like them. So what? Maybe it doesn't matter what you feel. This is it, liked or not. And wouldn't it be something, or even no thing, if it turned out that you like that? I love that, Judy.
Can you see a date on that? When was that? When it, because
No, no date. No, I don't
okay.
know.
I've written at this point many of
Yeah,
those. That's the mind tickler for people
yeah.
who don't know. And I've been writing that once a week since 2016.
Oh, wow.
So I don't remember when I wrote that.
I love
Um,
26. That was when I wrote my first book, 2016.
oh,
So
really?
yeah, we're
You're way ahead of me. I have started and been planning, and this is hopefully something that will come together after if I actually get to retire. Um, there's a book that has been promised and is waiting and just isn't coming together because there's
it's
no
happening
time.
now. It's happening.
So hopefully what it will do is pull all those mind ticklers together because there are so
Oh,
many of
that'll
them.
be great. That'll be great. I'm just going to give a tiny intro to what this podcast is about, and I think you'll like it.
Okay.
It's the Institute for Advanced Astonishment. So it's all about trying to find the most potent, effective tools to help a struggling person see their true nature. I know we have different languages, but I'm trying to use the ones that you might. I call the non-duality state the advanced astonishment state, make it a little bit
Okay.
different, so that people realize they're not some limited finite dying thing. They're actually this immortal consciousness, totally and unbelievably lost in a dream of separation. And I think you would agree it's time for those people to wake up and see the truth of who they really are and come home. So it's all about those tools. And I know you were Byron Katie plays a big role with you.
Did past tense.
Yeah, did. And we both have a psychology. I did a master's in psych. You also, and you did psychotherapy or some kind of therapy.
Do you mean for myself? My mother marched me into a therapist before I was 6.
Wow.
And well, yeah, she didn't know how to handle me. Uh, and so as is typical for so many people in so many families and grown-ups or children, my mother, nobody teaches people how to parent. And I was a challenge and a smart ass.
Yes.
And she, instead of her way, as is so many people's way, is to say that there's something wrong with me.
Right.
And so I was off and on well into my 50s. I was in therapy almost all my life, off and on, different therapists, different locations, etc. But yeah.
Anything effective or just
Uh, we'd have to define effective. We'd have to define it. There were
move the ball
times,
forward, like move the ball forward a little bit?
well, the thing is, let me tell you my thoughts on that.
Sure.
I don't know what that means. Um, does it mean I have explanations for my behavior? It means I can come up with some. It means I can create a convincing story of cause and effect.
Mm.
But in terms of does it move anything? How exactly would that work?
Right.
What exactly moves? So I found therapy over the course of my life extremely comforting. There was a period of time back when I did live in New York. We were talking before you hit record. I lived in New York City for I don't remember how many years before I moved to California. And there was a period at that time where I was seeing my therapist 3 times a week because he was a psychoanalyst and that's what he thought was necessary. 3 times a week. I was not wearing makeup. I had a professional job. I had abandoned psychology as a career for myself at that time. I was working in a corporation in sales. I was out in the world. I was dressed up, high heels, silk blouses, no makeup, because I was crying all the time. There was no point in putting makeup on. I would just cry it off. And a lot of that was because of the therapy. So I was it's so funny to talk about this now, to think about this now, because it's so different from how it's just different. But I was very involved in feeling my feelings, figuring out the cause. I was wallowing.
Yeah.
Looking back, I was wallowing. I was enjoying the intensity of emotion. That's not what I would have said at the time.
Right.
At the time, I probably would have said I was moving the ball forward.
And you were a big skeptic, right? I think.
Of non-duality and spirituality,
Yeah.
it wasn't even on the radar. It was,
wow.
Yeah, no, wasn't.
No religion.
No.
Really. Yeah.
No. I had some religious family members, but my nuclear family was not even slightly. I decided at age 4, and this is, I have now learned that this is not an unusual story. I didn't know that then, obviously. At age 4, I decided that the God story something was wrong with it. Something didn't add up. And at age 4, I decided to give God a test and find out if God stood up to it. And if not, that was that. And of course, I don't remember the assignment or the question or the request that I made, but God didn't come through. And that was that. I had been an atheist ever since.
Yeah.
It's very funny. It made sense to me with my 4-year-old brain at the time. So yeah, no religion, no spirituality, no woo-woo. And when I did this, before I discovered, so when I was in California, I was in a very long relationship there. And my boyfriend at that time was very into Alan Watts. He would listen to, there was an LA PBS, public radio.
Right.
PBS. There was a public radio program every night that would play Alan Watts lectures and seminars, etc.
Every night. Wow.
Every night, like 3 in the morning or whatever. I don't know if it's still happening. My boyfriend would record them. And in the mornings, while he was brushing his teeth, he's listening to Alan Watts.
Right.
And in the early part of our relationship, I just made fun of him. So
see, I listened to Alan
mocking.
Watts as an atheist, but I thought he was an atheist too, because I could only hear what I could hear, and I missed all the Advaita Vedanta. I missed all the Hindu, all the non-duality. I didn't even hear the word non-duality until later, and then I went, "Oh my God, Alan has been saying it all along."
He's brilliant, in my opinion. Brilliant.
So eloquent.
Yeah, and clear. There's his book, The Wisdom of Insecurity.
Yeah.
I have so much in that book that's highlighted that the parts that are not highlighted are the exception. The whole book is yellow.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
I have since then even left all that behind. I find that I can't drum up any interest in reading, apologies, any interest in podcasts. I cannot, people keep telling me about books. Sometimes I even go so far as to buy them, but then I don't read them.
Right. What was the
So
last one you remember that touched you?
that
Or
I read?
was it Byron Katie or something like that? Or
No, I went through a phase after the Byron Katie period where I read all kinds of things.
Carl Jung?
That would have been back in my psychology days. Yeah. I read after the Byron Katie stuff, which I essentially memorized. I mean, I was very into it at the time. And I was not alone. You've got a whole bunch of Byron Katie'ites who are out there in the world quoting her word for word as just regular conversation. But I read Alan Watts. I read, is it Singer, the Surrender guy?
Michael Singer?
Yeah. I skimmed Robert Saltzman.
Right. But you're friends with him? No? I've had him
Friendly.
on a
Yeah.
podcast. He was great.
Robert and I have spoken several times at this point. Who else?
Ram Dass?
I didn't read Ram Dass. I've seen some quotes, obviously. I read Tolle.
Yeah.
I think Tolle was the first one I read after Byron Katie. And then I read all those books. And looking back now, I did not see at the time, but looking back now, I see how he contradicts himself. I see how there's a lot. It just sounds like I'm just so
be
full of
nice.
myself.
Be nice.
But look, no, but this is about me. I'm about to say something that makes it sound like I know something, but looking back now, I can see where he doesn't make sense.
Totally.
Yeah. Who else did
to
I
me, when I told people you were coming on to describe you, I try to say, and I hope you don't take this wrong, I think you'll like it. You're like the Dorothy Parker of non-duality. You're the.
I love it.
It's a compliment, a total. I love
Yes,
Dorothy Parker.
I am all
and I
for
told
that.
Robert Saltzman he was like the James Randi of non-duality. Well, he's not really non-dual, but of what his message. You know, you're both no bullshit. No, you're straight shooters. You sharpen your tongue in the morning and you go out and hit the road.
It's so true. How did you know?
Tough broad, Sinatra would call you, you know.
I mean, I'm too old to pussyfoot around.
Yeah,
honestly.
And we need that though. We need you and Robert Saltz. There's a spot, like I was saying earlier to you, that between psychology and Carl Jung and all that, and then the spirituality, which gets into lots of, I used to call it, based on Penn and Teller, the New Age. They used to call it Newage because it rhymed with sewage.
Love that.
So there's a lot of that, and you hold a beautiful spot there that for everyone where this fails and it doesn't work, they can come to you. And that's what I want to dedicate this podcast to. There's so many people that I know, I can name 4 easily that I know, that read the Course in Miracles 10 times. They're on the 11th time. The book is broken, or they threw it out, they burned it, they peed on it, whatever, it's over. And they're trying again. They have a noose ready to go over the rafters. Right. Everything's worked. Nothing worked. They can't do the medicine because their brain is fried from other drugs or other things, and they just are still seeking to find this. And I know you have a lot to say about that. This enlightenment or this bliss, which I won't say anything, but you would say. Yeah, that's the problem. I
mean, ironically, which is a kind word in this case, for so many of these people, the seeking of bliss makes them suicidal.
Yes.
It's not as if they're almost there, or that is seeking, even it's the same for happiness. There's what it brings them is exactly what they're trying to escape. It makes life worse, not better.
And you've met a bunch of these people, and
I work
these
with
are
these
like,
people all day
this is
long.
real. Yeah. And I've heard you talk about this or write about this, that there are people that they're seeking so hard, and it depresses them to suicide that they can't. It's 40 years and they can't. I've heard them speak to Rupert Spira, and he's like, saying these things that I don't know where you are with him, but sometimes he'll say these things that won't help. They're 40
No.
years on the path, and they need you, not him. Other
At this
people could
point,
use him. Yeah, like when they're ready to pop and the sock is ready to turn inside out, like they're right there. They can get Tony Parsons or someone, and they could just pop them. But that's a very little,
I'm thinking of two expressions. One is something my father used to say all the time, which is, that's why they make chocolate and vanilla.
What? So you have,
And you have, for some people it's Parsons, for some people
yeah,
it's Judy, for
I
some
like
people
that.
it's nobody, for some people it's therapy. Fine,
Right.
right? And the other thing is that there's somebody for everybody, that old expression. If the thing is that if I had been seeking for 30, 40 years, and of course I know people like that, and I'm still anxious, unmotivated, depressed, at what point, there's definitely a mind tickler about this, but it goes back a few years. At what point do you say, okay, time for something different?
Right.
How many times do you throw yourself at that wall? It's not working. Whether it's right or it's wrong, whether it fits some theory or not, it no longer even matters. Like, how many years of your life are devoted to a failure? No wonder they're suicidal.
Yeah. And that moment, like you're saying, is a good moment when they realize it's failed. Like it
When they
seems
give
bad.
up, it's a revolution.
Yeah. It's like letting go. It's,
I really literally think of it as throwing yourself against a wall with just like, how many years?
yeah.
I think that mind tickler might have been called, again, I wrote it years ago, but I think it might have been called How Long, because like, how old do you have to be? I'm grateful that I stumbled on Byron Katie in my early to mid 50s, somewhere in there. But at this point, I'm not a kid. And at the point that I found Byron Katie, I was suicidal. She did, again, I don't follow her anymore, so I don't know. But at her school, she would go around the room and everybody would stand up and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, what number are they in terms of miserable?
Right.
And there were many, many high numbers.
Yeah.
And I was a high number. And I had no real trust, hope, or faith that I was going to leave a lower number.
Right.
But I did. And I would say that, if this stuff works for somebody or helps them through, there was a period of time after the Byron Katie years where I, every morning, would read whatever book was at the moment happening with breakfast. And that would calm me and enable me to get through the day.
Yes. Right.
Fine.
I think you say the same about, I could be wrong, correct me, self-inquiry, that it can get you. I think I can quote you. You said something like it'll get you to the door. So even if you're doing 5 years of that or whatever, if it gets you through and get you through, not throwing that rope over the,
Do it.
Yeah, do it. And then something, hopefully
hopefully, again, I do know people who have been doing the work of Byron. That's fine. It's a fine way to live your life. For me, that just sounds, at this point, exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and at the time that I was in that phase of my life, I would wake up in the morning, and before I got out of bed, I did an inquiry. I would do it all throughout the day, all day long, all night long, and then I go to sleep. I would play Byron Katie tapes.
Oh.
This was back in the day when there were tapes.
Right.
And CDs and things like that. And it's almost as if I had to be, that was my drug.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to it, to have had something that got me through, because suicide was in my back pocket my entire life. So
Did you have, I know you don't like to talk about experiences, but did you had them after the Byron Katie? You had that first, was the first one where you said it was like so I had like a paradigm pop, but you had like a whole world, like an earthquake kind of spin. Was that the first time something happened? Where
it
you
was
had something?
not.
Oh, there was something lighter
There
before?
were many smaller ones before that. That one was quite wild. Again, I don't like to go into the details of the
I
story
know.
because I just don't see how it helps anybody to hear somebody else's story, except as a carrot
Yeah.
for them to chase. Oh, tell me what your experience was so that I can see if maybe I can dream and hopefully have that too. I don't want to
Well, I like
aid
what
and
you
abet
said
that.
you said something like God or whatever we want to call it, pure imagination, doesn't play duplicates. So I could describe my experience, you could describe yours, and sometimes a seeker or a student will think they have to see that, and it even might resemble that, but it's never the same. It never quite
It's
happens again.
never the same.
I like that.
No,
Yeah. It's infinite.
it's
Yeah.
really truly not. Yes.
Yeah.
So for instance, I can I'm going to throw out a name for you. I can read some of Michael Markham's posts online. Do you know his name?
I was going to have him on next month. We'll see. I don't know.
Okay. So
Michael,
I
you
can
never know.
read, you never know.
Yeah.
We would never know with any of us. Your mouse could
Yeah.
have died
Yeah.
for good
Yes.
today.
We almost didn't make it.
I can read this post, that post, this post, that post, and think, yeah, well said. And I really like Michael as an example in
Too.
many ways, because he's succinct. He in a couple of sentences, which I really appreciate. So many of these things go on and on and on and on and on. They're longer in height than I am,
Yeah.
and I'm tall.
Are you tall?
He says I'm 5'8", about 5'8".
That's tall.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little shorter now. I'm old. But I like how Michael can say things in a sentence or two. That's actually similar to my style a little bit. I like that he's often funny. He's a little bit snide sometimes. I can relate.
Ruffles feathers like you.
But then every once in a while he writes some things where I'm like, oh gosh, what?
Yeah.
And
me too.
so that I'm just saying that as an example of there are no duplicates. This is his experience. He says what he has found and what he believes, and he has every right to do that. It's his page. I agree with much, and then I don't with some other. There's no point in having a discussion about who's right.
Right.
Because first of all, who would know? And second of all, who would decide?
Yeah.
So I think that there are as many experiences as there are individuals. And humans love stories. It's why we like fiction. It's why we like movies. It's why we like gossip. We like stories, damn it.
Right.
And we like emotional stories, we like touching stories, we like feeling stories. So when a person tells the story of their enlightenment experience, they don't really realize what they're feeding. Apparently, they don't seem to realize what they're feeding in the listener. They're feeding a pull to story.
Right.
I don't want to help with that.
Sometimes,
It's
I
not
don't know if
that.
this fits, but even we can tell us, like, we can have an experience, like your first experience, whatever that was, and then we can think we have to. I remember Jim Carrey saying this. He experienced something, and then he had this famous clip that went out. Then he chased that experience, that same, and it's not
Yes,
going to happen again that way. It happens a whole different
never.
way. Yeah,
Even for your own self,
even for
even for
us,
yourself,
right?
it never.
That's
Yes,
the
let
point. Yeah.
alone for the people you're talking to. Yes, and
Yes.
so
So that first time that I remember, the first thing that happened to me, it never happened again, whether it was
right.
LSD, I mean, medicines that were so strong couldn't match that first time because it was like virginal. It just came and there it was. And and I chased it though. And for 4 years, I tried to have that exact thing again. So I was doing it to myself, just like you're saying.
Well, that's what everybody does. That's what
So we
everybody
have to be
does because
careful.
it's, well, it's hard not to. Something came to you out of the blue,
Yes.
right? It happened to you without you,
Right.
right? And then the mind gets involved and says, I'm going to make this, I am now taking charge of this. From here on in, I'm going to
Totally.
make this happen again. I'm going to make it happen on command. I'm going to take
Yes.
drugs to make it happen.
Yes.
But you didn't make it happen to begin with. So
Right.
the idea that you're now going to be able, when you go out and try and make it, either make it stay or bring it back, you
Right.
do not have the power. And that's, again, it's fine. It's frustrating for people. It's built-in failure.
Yeah.
And in the end, whatever it is that sent that original experience, it'll do it again or not as it
Right.
pleases.
But we could say, I know what you're saying there, that the negative, the damage that telling the story does is big to these seekers. But there are, in those stories, we can, if they could lightly see that there's some kind of string or thread of maybe a feeling of the absence of time, or there's certain qualities about it that, and if they could just see that and not try to get, or maybe that's Monday morning quarterbacking and you only know that later,
Well, what happens is that you can, for a person to be able to see that, that's different from experiencing that.
Right.
So what's the value in seeing, for instance, that the absence of time? I'm just being argumentative.
Right. No, I hear what you
There's
said.
certainly nothing wrong with it, but
Yeah.
what about it has to be seen? What will be gained by seeing it?
Right. You want to
As opposed,
experience it, not see it. Yeah. I mean, not
right?
think about it,
Not even understand it. And
no,
this
don't
is,
understand it.
you end up putting it in boxes and sticking words on it and making it
I'm
small.
100% with when my teacher told me, when I didn't know he was my teacher, and he said, he told me the whole thing. And I said, okay. And he said, and this is beyond words, and the menu and the meal and the map and the territory. And I said, okay, I got it. And he said, so what are you going to do today? And I said, I'm going to the bookstore. And he said, why? And I said, because I'm going to get a book about how words aren't it. And he said, what? And that was totally the ego coming on, and James wanted to
Yes,
understand it. And like you said, it says, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go get a book on it. I'm in control now, and
you're
we'll
going to
learn
keep
about how.
studying.
Yeah.
The thing is, at the risk of denigrating your teacher, 'cause I don't mean to do that.
It's okay. You can't.
I mean, I don't know who it was, so I don't mean anything
No.
bad about this. But the thing is, when a teacher tells you how it is,
Mhm.
what does that do for you?
Well, it
Then there's
definitely
an
made me start to make a
understanding.
map. I started to make a map, conceptual map. I
Okay.
started to at least try to go in and not out. Like, but I was going out to go in still. I made a map.
If non-duality is a real thing, does it matter if you go in or out?
I think you have to stop. Something has to stop. The out has to
Something,
stop.
well,
Something stops. I don't know how to word it.
I hear you about that.
Yeah.
The thing is,
The direction, something.
and I understand that I really get, and was there for a long time too, I get the appeal of understanding this, but understanding it is not experiencing.
No, but I didn't
And
know that early on. I didn't know.
I understand. And when your teacher was telling you it's this, it's that, it's, there is no time or whatever, I didn't write down your
Well,
words.
he was saying you have to go beyond the words to everything's the menu and you have to experience the meal.
Okay.
You know.
So
It
let me write this
worked.
down. So
It worked. Whatever he did, it worked.
and it is very appealing, and it's very, there's a joy in an intellectual exploration.
Yes.
It's fun. This is why people do philosophy. It's fun.
Right.
It turns on the brain. It sparks things. It's the world of thinking, concepts and things like that. It's great.
My teacher would say it's better than a stick in the eye.
And I haven't experienced a stick in the eye, but my guess is he's right.
It's better, yeah. It's a little better.
Probably accurate.
Yeah.
Does that enlighten anyone?
Well, it
I
set
don't
me
know.
on a path to be, but not right away. It took a few months. I still went out into the words and tried to make a map, but then I started to be quiet and still down, sit in stillness, and I neti and quiet, and something happened. Everything popped. It went into black. Thought I was dying. It was endless love and bliss, and that whole experience.
You might
And
have
then
been
I
dying.
chased that for 4 years. After.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how lucky for you that it was only 4.
Right, now 40. Yeah.
Right. Again, nothing wrong with that as a way to live.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating, really.
Right.
Um,
No duplicates.
I don't know anybody who has chased, well, that's not true. I was going to say I don't know anybody who has chased for multiple decades who isn't frustrated and or depressed or anxious. But I don't think, as far as I know, I can think of a couple of people that might be okay emotionally. I mean, they're all okay, but might not be struggling emotionally. I don't know. I know that I have, especially because I don't have a big spiritual background, and I'm not ferociously educated in the field or the area. I don't know all the names. I haven't read all the books.
Right.
There's all kinds of methods and inquiries and things like that I have not done. I just stumbled my way around doing my best, not looking for anything.
Right.
I just wanted to not kill myself. Basically,
Yeah.
seriously, I know what that sounds like, but really that was my experience for most of my life. It's just, can you get to tomorrow, Judy?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as far back as 9 thinking this is what an unhappy childhood is.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes back a long way for me. And that's all I wanted. In fact, when Byron Katie, this, I might be repeating myself. If I am, let me know. But Byron Katie would do something interesting. She was perfect for me because she speaks normal language, unlike Rupert, let's say, or
Right.
Tony Parsons or whatever. That would never have worked for me because it's way too esoteric for me. She speaks normal language. She applies it to everyday life. That was where I was hurting. That worked for me. And there was a how-to, do this.
Yes,
perfect,
a method. Right.
Perfect for me at that time. And helped me survive. Absolutely. Why was I talking? I had a point to make, which is now gone. Gone. Never mind.
Gone. Well, can I ask, what do you say to someone who's at the 11th reading of the Course in Miracles, 40 years in, they can't take even MDMA because they fried their brain and they're scared and they need to be sober. So they have to go straight, no medicine, no, they know every single thing that we can say just about, except maybe they don't know Judy Cohen, and you can give them a little, you're at that spot, where that sweet spot right before all the spiritual bullshit. You're right there and you can say something to them that maybe, they can hear.
So here's what I do. I don't say anything to them. I ask questions. And seated in the questions are shiny little objects that the mind can chase and figure out.
Right.
And while the mind is busy, the grown-ups talk.
I like that a lot. You distract.
So
it's like in magic, that would be misdirection. You misdirect the mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Look over here. And it's really
Oh, look, here's a problem. Look.
Right there, right.
There is no when I'm working with people, there is no expounding going on. I am sneaky.
You have
secretive.
to be.
I have to be.
The mind is very sneaky.
It's got thousands and thousands and thousands of years of practice. We don't stand a chance. And I
call
really
it in my book the tenacious motherfucker, just to throw a curse out there. So now it opens the door.
Right? We thank you very much. I'm fucking grateful. Thank you.
You're fucking welcome.
I don't tell people how it is. There's no point.
Yeah, and
they
this
don't need
person
me
I'm
for
thinking
that.
of doesn't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
I wouldn't want to hear it.
Yeah, they've heard it, just like,
the thing is, so there's an intersection that it seems to me is being unattended. I didn't look for this. It's just where I found myself. And maybe there are other people out there doing something similar. I don't know. But my feeling is, in the end, what good is enlightenment if your life sucks?
Yes.
And so if you're miserable, if you're having trouble dealing, if things are nagging, you can't stop obsessive thinking, which is never a fun time. If you're overly concerned with what people think about you, who isn't? I'm sorry, whether it's admitted or not. It's one of the key ways we determine who we are, according to the mind. We use it, we compare to other people.
Right.
I can tell because that person is better at XYZ than I am. That tells me where I am.
Right.
So we have to care what people think, even the people who say they don't do.
I guess there's shades of gray that, right, there's some
Yes.
kind of scale. Yeah.
Yeah. If the lived life is miserable, what do we care if we understand whether there's time or not?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So
No, you want to feel better. You want to know everything's okay.
you want to, and for a lot of seekers, it's they're unaware of how to integrate understanding with actual daily living, the living of the person, whether the person is a dream or not, whether the
Right.
self is real or not. We live in this dream.
Yeah.
And oh, you're back. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Too many non-dual speakers kind of hang in the emptiness, and they don't come back to the city, to the action, to the everyday nitty gritty
yes,
reality.
but most of us don't live in a cave.
Right.
Most of us don't. Most of us have jobs and families and parents and pets and all kinds of stuff that drives us
Things
crazy.
happen. Yeah. The leak roof, the roof leaks, something.
Right. And no
There's
money
always
to pay
something.
for to fix.
We have
Yeah.
bodies that, you know.
Right. I'm going to be 70 in a few months, and in the last year or two, I have noticed this body is slowing down, and the mind is like outraged.
Yeah.
What? But like it or not.
Right, right.
So
You
I
look
can actually
amazing.
trace.
You look
Oh,
amazing.
well, thank you.
You don't look 70.
Don't ask me. I don't know. It's the magic of the camera. I don't know.
It's cinema.
But I am starting to feel
A little
my
slow.
age, like it or not, like it or not. So the thing is that how do you integrate, let's say you understand up the wazoo, how to enlightenment and awareness and non-existent self and all of, let's say you really get it.
Right. Like a parrot,
And
you
then
can speak it and not. One of
so
my
much of
favorite
that.
quotes, one of my favorite quotes you might love is, it's ancient. It's a little twisty, but I know you'll love it. The delusion that knowledge is not a delusion is the greatest delusion of all.
I love that. Do you know who said it?
I think it's the Tripura, Tripyura. I don't know if that's a book or a guy.
Okay, so I've never heard that word, so I will check that out later because I do collect
Yeah.
quotes for the Mind
It's
Tickler.
old. Yeah, it's great. Right?
I don't read the books, but I do collect quotes. So helping people integrate useless knowledge into everyday life so that life is better. It may be a dream, but it still hurts.
Yeah.
When we have a nightmare, we're not happy. And maybe we don't have to live a nightmare all the time. And so integrating all that spirituality with everyday life is what I do. I will not preach a point of view at somebody.
I
will help them find theirs. So there's a lot of questions, and that I periodically interrupt people. I consider it my job to interrupt. I'm sometimes kind of ferocious. It's not always appreciated.
No, you're ferocious.
But I will interrupt if they don't answer the question. Because
Yeah,
the
you don't
magic
let them
is
off the
in
hook. Right.
no.
You're not. Yeah, because sometimes being kind isn't really being it's hurting them, and
A
what you're
waste
doing
of
is
time.
real love. Real effectiveness is true love. I think you're really helping.
And if people want, there, my goodness, honey, that sounds awful.
Right.
Yes, I'm so sad for you. If people want that,
Yeah.
lovely,
Don't go to
they don't
Judy
want
Cohen.
me. They don't want me. So, again, it's chocolate and vanilla.
Yeah.
There's somebody for everybody. I am hard to take for some people, and that's
But we're glad
fair
you're out
enough.
there. We're glad you're waiting for them when they're ready to go on that ride. They'll take it.
So far, at least till the end of the year, when I
And then
retire,
more,
hopefully
right.
retire.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens. A
We
book,
well,
a
we'll
book
see.
is coming.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully. And I say that not because I really care about the book, because I kind of don't.
Right.
But I've been asked a lot and I've promised a lot. And some years back, I set up a Patreon account. Are you familiar with Patreon? And people have
Yeah.
been donating for several years now, and I feel that
great.
I owe them. I owe them what they've been contributing towards. So I hope to finish the book, because
You will.
it just seems fair to them. But otherwise, I really could care less. You know what? My mother was an English teacher and a writer and editor. And one of her great regrets was that she never did write a book. And when I started the Mind Tickler, she was very jealous.
Ah.
And when I let her know that people were asking me to write a book, she tried to be supportive, but failed because she was so envious. Poor thing.
Ah.
She wanted this for herself, and here I was doing it. So she was not pleased.
Are you a
Whereas I
fan?
didn't care.
Are you a fan of Richard Lewis, the comedian?
I mean, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Remember, very neurotic,
So
wears all black, like he's at a funeral,
yeah,
always worried.
I remember who
And
he is. Yeah.
he said when he got his first gig on the Carson show, which was a big deal back then, that he called his mom and he said, I'm going to be on Johnny Carson on the, and she said, who else is going to be on?
Right. I mean, we
So
all have these fantasies, right? We have these fantasies of what family and parents and support should look like, and what our lives should have looked like, and how they should have raised us, and how they should support us and be. But no, they're fucked up humans like all the rest of us.
yes.
And their capacity to give us what we want is just as bad as our capacity to give ourselves what we want.
Great.
They suck at it and they can't help it. So my mother was very jealous, very competitive. But if she wasn't that, she would have been something else that didn't work for me.
Right.
It's just it's a law.
Yeah, it's a
that
law.
your parents disappoint you.
It's good. And if they don't,
So
maybe in an end, maybe if they don't disappoint you, you wind up fucked up in some other way because they didn't. Who
it's
knows?
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Because this business of being a person, an individual, it comes with suffering. One form or another. That's the deal. That I don't know how you avoid that. And I don't know who has avoided that. If you're human and alive,
And a
and not
person.
even not in a person, you're narrowing down what you might really be, who knows, into this tiny, tiny, tiny little unaware
Yeah.
speck.
Horrible.
You're going to miss a lot. It's
So
not
don't
a
you
happy thing.
deserve? Alan Watts would say, "There, you deserve." He said once, "If you get your pocket picked," I had to pull the car over when he said it. He said, "You get your pocket picked, you deserve it." He said, if you get it, you picked again and again, you deserve it over and over and over until you finally stop and you figure it out that they're picking my pocket and you don't carry a wallet, or you put, and it was all a metaphor for what you're saying. You deserve it
Right.
until it's teaching you, and that's the fire of hell. It's going to burn
Right,
away
it can. I
everything
mean,
that's not you.
that is what gets us off our butts. The thing is, if we don't get off our butts, okay, it's not like there's an actual right way to live. This is so hard for humans to grasp because we all are raised from the time we're teeny, teeny, tiny to behave and to follow whatever the rules are in the household and the culture we grow up in. And the thing is, those rules are arbitrary.
Mm.
They're made up. And we're all in our way trying to be good and trying to deserve to be alive.
Mm.
And nature does not need anything to deserve life.
No.
Deserving is a weird human concept. And so we're all trying.
Mm.
I would even take, see, here I am arguing with Alan Watts, for God's sake. But I think a lot of myself, apparently. But I would even take issue with the idea that we're here to learn lessons. I don't even, personally, that doesn't make sense to me.
Do you think
I get
maybe
the
it's not
appeal
a
of it.
purpose, but it's sort of a law that when you are not following this thing, you're going to get burned, your pocket will get picked, you will get hurt, you will suffer until you let go of this identifying with the persona, the mask.
I think even when you let go of identifying with the persona, assuming that you can actually do that, because if you ask me what my name is, I'm going to tell you it's Judy.
No, I love when you say Judy's hanging around. She's not going anywhere.
She said, where's she going? So of course I'm still identifying with the persona. How do you live in this world without doing that?
Right, but you know that you're not, I'll word it lightly, you're not only Judy, or Judy's not that one thing, Judy's not that limited,
I am grateful to, yes, to have experienced that that's not what I am. In the everyday life, I live as Judy.
Right.
With all her little bugs and quirks and oddities and etc.
Right.
That can't be ignored. I think when seekers want to obliterate that, there's no hope. That is not happening. And Alan Watts is a great example of this, because here was a man who understood so much, and yet what? Drugs, alcohol, women,
Drinking, yeah, lots of S&M and all sorts of
right?
stuff. Yeah, a lot of
So
women. Yeah. Kerouac too.
I mean,
Saw through it.
show me
Something.
the saint who didn't have quirks. And I mean, look,
Right.
I'm treading on sacred ground, I know, but Ramana had an odd relationship with his cow, right? And please don't beat me up, whoever's listening. Please don't send me hate mail.
I'm not uttering another word on that. Holy cow.
I read somewhere, right? I read somewhere, there's not a lot about Ramana out there, information out there, other than adoring and worshipful. But I read a while back, he attracted acolytes and people who wanted to help him, who took care of him. They cooked for him, etc. Okay. And I read about how he yelled at one of these servers. He got angry. I love this story, actually. He got angry at the server because the server put too much food on his plate. And basically, Ramana was concerned. These are not his words. I am using my own words to summarize this. He was concerned that it wouldn't look like he cared about people
Ah,
if he took too much food when there were people starving and people hungry, et cetera, et cetera. So here's Ramana caring what people think about him. So show me who doesn't, show me who doesn't have these quirks and these, show me the living human being who has attained an obliteration of self. I mean, and where does the self go? Where does this persona go? This Judy thing, where does she go?
no, I like how you put it. Judy or James or whoever is there, but also there's a watching of it or an observing, and look at Judy go. Like, look, how is she going? Is she
Isn't she
going to
adorable?
confront this guy? Yeah, look at her. Look at her sharpening her tongue and about to just totally
Say
wreck
things
that
she'll
guy.
regret.
Yeah, right. Will she
Make
do it?
trouble for
Will she
herself.
not? Yeah. So there's always that, yeah, the
Yes.
two. A
Yes.
lot of my dreams lately, last couple of years, are when I dream, it'll be like a plane crashing. The plane's going straight down, and I'm in the cockpit with the pilot, and my face is on the glass, and it's so scary. And then about 10 seconds before the hit, there's always a smile behind it. Like, what are you kidding? I'm not going
I
to let
love
this
it.
happen. Everything. And I wake up, and it's like a teaching. It's,
I
everything you
love it.
say.
But what are you kidding? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's
The answer
fine.
is yes.
Right. It's a
Yes.
horror
It's
house.
a
It's like going
joke.
into the corner. It's a joke. Yes.
It's a joke, and it's also, it's this amazing, rich experience. And I realize that when you're experiencing what we call suffering, there's
Not.
nothing rich about it. But without the human evaluation of good or bad or liked or disliked, because that's strictly human, no other creature does that.
Right.
Without that, I don't like this, which runs our life. We are obsessed with
We are.
liking what we feel and liking what happens to us. And what we call bad events are things we don't like.
Expectations. We expect it this way, and it goes that way. We have
This
a
is
dinner
bad,
date
we
at
say.
6 o'clock, and then it's canceled, and it's a,
Husband cheats,
yes.
don't like,
Yeah.
don't like.
Right.
And we call that a bad experience simply because we don't like it. But without that, there is an experience of, in this case, we're talking about a feeling.
Sorry, we had a power outage, and we're back, and we'll spice this together. Judy, I was just wondering what you would say to someone who's at the end of their rope. Can you play it out with me? Is it something you can say, or because you're retiring? So we want to get it on film. I need a tool.
I don't know if it's that translatable into a tool, although I do have a client who's trying to make an AI app that will.
Right.
We'll see. He's pretty sharp, so we'll see.
Really good.
It's possible that he'll be able to make this happen, and it will do all the work.
Yeah,
so we won't need no stinking Judy Cohen. But yeah, we can play. I've just got my eye on one of my cats because they're very destructive, and hearing the sounds I don't like. What are you doing? What are you tearing up?
I know that feeling.
I mean, this is part of my wood floor.
Oh.
And actually there are two of them. So I'm just making sure whatever they're also where they are right now is my room where I paint, and there's potential for great mess.
Lots of stuff. Yeah.
So she seems to know that.
So our segue could be just like cats would paint. The mind is very destructive. Like
it just likes to have a problem. That's all. It just has its own agenda, and it requires a problem to exist. if it doesn't have something to think about, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And so it thinks.
So we have this person now that's watching, and they're trying to plow through the course for the 11th, 12th time. What do we, and they've heard it all, like you tell them, get outside, don't stay in the house too much, do this, because they know all the teachings
Of
already.
course, they know all that, and they know to exercise,
know
and they know to
that.
eat right,
Yeah.
and they know not to drink, and they know to take this medication or that, and they know that their mother threw them down the stairs when they were 2, and that's the
Yes.
cause of their XYZ. Yeah, they know.
And they know that suicide is an option, and they're like, maybe they can, and I try to say that, maybe, I don't know if this is true, but maybe when you do that reboot or that you still have to come back to that same spot again, maybe in
It's
some way.
possible. We
Yeah.
don't know, because
We
none
don't
of
know.
us are dead.
Yeah.
Um, so that is one of the things that kept me alive back in the day. I had read a bunch of reincarnation books and things like that, and it suddenly occurred to me, what if it doesn't end when I die? What if the suffering doesn't stop? That would be awful,
That's
right?
pure Hamlet. That's Hamlet.
What if out there in the wherever we go, I'm still wanting to escape? Like, oh no. So yeah, that's one of the things that kept me from actually doing it. Was the idea that it might not bring relief.
And we're at a good point here, because I know your method to a degree, and one school would say, now go face your fear, go face this head on and embrace it.
Nah, you've
And I know
already
you
done
say,
that.
no, yeah, you don't. That
I
is a
mean,
school. That's
it is a very
embracing.
big and popular school right
Yeah.
now. It,
But you
it
say, why, what would you say?
well, I did come after Byron Katie. I was desperate for another teacher. I was very afraid of doing this on my own and doing anything on my own. And so I fell into the Scott Killaby world, where that was all about sitting with your feelings and experiencing
Raise rocket like a baby.
embodiment and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I saw that you pulled away from that. I saw.
Yeah, I that's fine, but I don't think that's I don't think delving deeper into the person helps relax
That's
the
music
person.
to my ears. That sounds like Beethoven. That's Mozart.
It didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And so I see so many people who are sitting with their feelings in an attempt, let's face it, they're only doing that in the hopes the feelings go away.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe the thing is, what would I do? You're asking me, what would I do? What would I say to that person? It's such an individual thing, in the sense of, I would need to hear that person's language. There's so much information in what they say. And you are summing up somebody that I think you have in mind, actually,
Yes.
right? Okay. So,
But is
but
there anything you can give them, some kind of
like
thing
this
that,
right
some
now,
kind
right
of
here and now,
pointer? Yeah.
I guess the first question I would ask is, if you took the fact that you don't like this feeling and the situation, whatever inspired it, off the table, we got it. Don't like it. Sucks. Right. That's established. Okay. If you took that off the table, you're left with an experience without an evaluation of it. I guess the first question is, do you have to like it in order to be okay?
That's
Because
good.
do you?
Right.
And then the next question is, if not, whether you like it or not doesn't matter. Just it's an if.
Good.
Is it possible? Can you find where you're okay anyway? So one of the things that always strikes me as interesting is people think if they're feeling a feeling they don't like. So let's say they're very depressed or they're very afraid. We all think that if there's this feeling we don't like, that we're not okay. But is that, to use Byron Katie's expression, true? I feel a feeling. I'm made to feel feelings. We're all
Right.
made to feel feelings. I feel a feeling. Without the like or dislike, aren't I okay?
Still here. Still
Still
here.
here, still alive, still
Like you would
sitting
say,
here,
I could still breathe.
perfectly safe
breathing.
in this chair, nothing bad happening. Some images going on of, which is a whole other story, of what we want or don't want or what we think is happening. Other than that, again, to use Byron Katie's expressions, woman in chair. Seriously, feeling,
Yeah.
person feeling. Okay,
It's coming through. Yeah.
maybe we don't have to do anything with it. Maybe we don't have to like it. Maybe we don't have to analyze it, sit with it, try and make it go away or stay. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we're okay anyway. And this is such a hard thing to for people to accept, because we are so entrenched with this idea that if we have a feeling, we have to like it.
Yeah.
This is why everybody's chasing love and bliss and happiness. We like those. We don't like anxiety. But if you peel off,
Kierkegaard called anxiety the dizziness of freedom. That's such a beautiful way to spin it.
I mean, it all gets
Freedom.
very interesting when you don't have to like it.
Yeah. So don't worry if you like it or not. Just
Peel
see
that
it.
off and see if there's a problem with a feeling. Once you peel off whether you like it or not,
I like peel.
the mind will resist this. People will fight this very hard. But I'm suffering, but this is terrible, but it's uncomfortable, but I can't stand it anymore. Most of what they say after these kinds of questions starts with but.
Always a but.
There's
It's always a but.
The but is one of those things. There's a handful of these that are similar to a poker tell. You familiar with?
That's yes. You could spot it.
It's a tell. It is an announcement that the rest of the sentence is bullshit.
Yes.
What is coming is bullshit, people.
That's good.
So that's one of the tells. There's another tell, which is feels like. Are you okay? It doesn't feel like it. Is that an answer?
No. It's a description of how you feel.
It's a but.
Yeah.
So, as a for instance, and my clients have heard this a million times. If I say, I feel like I'm dying, am I dying?
Nope.
If I was dying, I would not be telling you how I feel.
Yeah. Right.
If I say it feels like it's raining, is it raining?
Yeah. Right.
So it's bullshit. It feels like it's always a lie. Always a lie. And its little sister seems like same.
Yeah.
So if you're going to ask these questions to your friend, whoever is in this position, because you mentioned it before, and obviously you have somebody in mind. Do I have to like this in order to be okay? And if I peel this like or don't like, it's just an if, because this is very hard to do. I'm not telling him to do it. It's a him, right?
No, a
The
lady.
female? Okay.
Yeah, and she would say, she knows she's not lying. She knows all the teachings and all the 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 books and all the methods. And she would say that every time when it gets to a point that um she's moving towards health or something good, either life or the mind, or something, like it could be the car breaks down or the roof leaks, or
Could be
the
all of it.
mind comes in and just deal with it. Yeah.
I mean, the thing
It always
is,
smacks her down right there, like right.
well, she's looking for liked experiences. Who isn't? Right?
Right.
Nobody likes the car, the flat tire, the roof, the rain, the COVID, the pneumonia, whatever. Nobody, cancer, nobody likes it. Got it.
And do you think the seeking the bliss of enlightenment, which is a big thing with you, is she's looking for that? So it's almost like you're looking for a concept of God as an analogy, and that's not God's not a concept, so you miss it. So if you have a concept of what enlightenment is, and it's going to feel amazingly
She's
great.
missing, while she's chasing a nice feeling,
Hmm.
she is missing that she's already God and that it's already here.
Yes.
She can't, she has no way to access that. But if it's all God or consciousness or spirit,
Perfect.
existence, whatever word works for awareness,
Yes. Pure imagination.
if it's all that, that includes that feeling she doesn't like. If that feeling, or if the failure to attain enlightenment is also God, lucky her.
Yes.
And again, the not liking the feeling is ruining her life. That and the idea that there are some thoughts going on or some images going on about what life should be for her, whether she thinks that she should be enlightened with all she knows, but she's not able to see what she is because she's chasing something she thinks she doesn't have.
So put the books down, maybe put the course
I
down for a
I
little
would.
bit.
I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh, how many chances is she going to give it?
Yeah, yeah.
If she's literally on her 10th or 11th shot,
It's up. I didn't
enough,
want to say the exact number, but it's up there. Yeah.
enough, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
it's time to try something different. I'm not trying to hustle. I'm not looking for new clients, but if she wants to call and
I would like that.
set
Yeah.
up
I
a
was gonna
20
bring her
minute,
on here,
okay.
but I figured maybe after I'll just send her to you.
Yeah, there's a link all over the website about it to set up a
Yeah.
session, and it'll do all the time converting and all that for her. And yeah,
Be a beautiful testimonial, your last one,
it's I'm happy to hear from her. We don't even need those, but
No,
it's time for her to do something different.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
very smart. And I know this is probably the profile of a lot of your clients, like
yeah,
very, very smart and very, I mean, they've been on the path and they know it all. They've been through, and it's just not working. And then you go to Judy Cohen
well,
or
you've
Robert
not
Smith.
nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Nothing to
And everything to
lose.
gain, everything to gain.
Maybe not. I mean, I'm not claiming that what I do works for everybody. It doesn't. And by that, I consider it my job, not the client's job, to deal with resistance or a no, or I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's up to me to get through. If the client could do it, they'd do it. They can't. They get a no. It's up to me to find a way to sneak a yes in there.
And if you and I were going on a rocket ship tomorrow away from here, and we could leave something behind, what would you leave? I mean, you've said a lot, but I just want to keep digging until you tell me, we're done. I always want to dig for that one tool we could put in that astonishment toolkit that
That I
maybe
would
on the
bring in the rocket ship, you mean? Is that what you
no,
mean?
we're
Or
gone.
Well,
And
so I would leave
and we
it
leave
behind for other
behind,
people.
yeah, we leave behind this tool that maybe like if we both blow up right now, and Byron Katie and everybody, all the teachers blow up, what is there anything you can tell them to do on their own? You know,
It's not that I don't tell people to do things on their own, but it's so individualized
right,
based on language and thought pattern.
anything that always is there though with most, or
Yeah, there's always some version of I am, and then there's a word.
always. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm fat, I'm
I'm weak,
miserable,
I'm stupid, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough. This is hard to summarize.
those are the best. Take your time.
It's hard to because I'm not a method. I'm not Byron Katie. I'm not a 4 questions and
No, Judy Cohen.
it's very customized, which is why I'm glad that it's my client who's doing that AI thing because I wouldn't have a clue.
But that's great. You're working on
it. Yeah, I'm very grateful to him for playing with that.
Great.
I guess if I were to leave something for somebody to do without me, I would start with this.
Good.
I am XYZ. Everybody's got a word that follows that am thing. Let's say that's true. I'm weak. I'm a failure. I'm a bad person. I'm not good enough. Whatever.
I'm in pain. I'm in pain. Yeah.
Well,
no,
that's not a description of an identity. That's a description of an experience.
I'm suffering.
I'm a person who suffers.
Right.
I'm a person who doesn't get it. I'm a person who's doing something wrong because I am suffering. Your friend believes she's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure out what she's doing wrong.
She's like, maybe this isn't for me, this life. I tried it all and it's just not for me. I start over.
So the question I would ask is, whatever that word is that identifies what that am is, I am stupid, weak, bad, unlovable. These are words that are very common. Deficient, not good enough is extremely common. Okay. I am that. That is saying who I am.
Right.
Let's say it's true. So what would be the question I would leave behind? I'm serious.
Yeah. So
Let's
what? You're
say
weak. So what? You're this. So what?
Seriously. Okay.
All right. Now what?
Let's say you're unlovable.
Yeah.
Imagine the freedom in that. I mean, if we didn't have to be lovable or nice.
Right.
Woohoo! Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's say I am weak. Look at the expectations I don't have to meet. Let's say I'm stupid.
You can relax immediately. And that's the whole thing. Relax.
Be that.
Yeah, be that.
I'm weak. I'm stupid. I'm a failure. Yeah. Where's the problem? I'm saying so what as opposed to where's the problem, because what happens when people are first starting with this is they start listing the consequences, the imagined consequences of being weak or being stupid, or, well, then I won't get a job, or, well, then nobody will love me, or I'll die alone under a bridge, alone in a dark room with nobody to, I mean, they all have the same fantasies. We all have the same stories.
Yeah.
Under a bridge with a shopping cart.
No money.
No money, alone in a nursing home with nobody taking, etc.
So what?
Let's say it's true.
Okay.
Literally, so what? Where is the literal, actual problem with being a terrible person? And by the way, does a terrible person care if they're a bad person? Inherent in calling yourself that, you're already identifying that you're not a bad person.
Yeah.
Bad people do not care if they're bad.
Right. They don't notice. They're not aware.
So when somebody says to me, I'm a bad person, this means I'm a terrible person. I know they're not walking down the street lighting small children on fire.
Right.
This is just a mind story.
It's just a mind thing. Yep.
That identifies them, and then the mind gets very busy solving it. And that's one of the things that happens, which is, it's like a pig in shit, as happy as a clam. Those are two American idioms for anybody who's listening who's not from the US. Right? It's the mind starts to solve. And this is one of the things that I discovered. Oh, you're back.
I'm here.
Oh, are you?
I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
Here.
There you are. There you are.
Good.
I discovered that all those thoughts of suicide that I had all my life, except for a couple of different times where I actually was close to suicide, most of the time, that thought was like a habit, like a solution that the mind came up with. Well, you have a problem here. I know what you can do about it. You can kill yourself. It's a problem solving thought,
right,
in general, to the mind. Occasionally it shifts into something else. But in general, most people who have suicidal thoughts are not actually all that close to suicide. They'll say things like, I want to, but I'm not brave enough.
Yeah.
Things like that. Uh-oh. I keep losing you.
Oh no,
You here? Yeah.
Yeah. You're perfect.
Okay,
You're
good.
flowing. You're flowing.
Okay.
So you're saying suicide, the option of suicide is maybe a healthy breath of air.
Well, it's
For
not that
most,
it's healthy. It's just a routine thought. It's
Yeah.
sort of like an earworm, one of those songs you get stuck in your head, and it just keeps singing the song. It
When you hit
just
that,
is. It's the mind's idea of an answer. It starts thinking, and the great thing about a suicidal thought to the mind is that it can never mean anything good. It comes with meaning. The fact that I'm thinking this thought means I am in trouble, screwed up, hopeless. I am not getting it. I am wasting my life. I am hopeless, in despair, etc. So the thought comes, I know what you should do. You should kill yourself. That'll solve this problem. And then additional thoughts build on that about what that means about you, that you even had the thought to begin with. The mind is very happy with this. This works.
right.
Lots and lots to think about. Lots of problems to solve. There's meaning, there's identity, there's activity, like how should I do it? It gets busy.
Yeah.
This is the mind's idea of a good time.
You got to write a note.
Right, what will I say? Who will I leave it for?
What will I say? What will I wear?
I will say, though, that by the time somebody's thinking about a note, they're past the earworm part. Where it just says, I know suicide. I know suicide. How about suicide? Why don't you kill yourself? I know suicide. They're past that. So they might be closer to it, for instance, than somebody who just says, anybody who just has a suicidal thought, like, I think I want to be dead, or I don't see any point in carrying on.
Yeah, right.
That's just a wandering earworm. It's
Or I'm
habit.
not, I couldn't get it this time around, that kind of, I'm not able to get there.
Does your friend believe in reincarnation? Sounds like.
I don't know.
I mean, if she's talking about this round, that sounds like she
Yeah,
thinks
it
there will be
sounds like
other
it, yeah.
rounds. I wonder if she would be considering it as much of an option if there are no other rounds,
Right.
because we don't know if there are
Yeah, we
other
don't-
rounds or not.
we don't-
And so if there weren't other rounds, would she be in such a hurry to get out?
Right. Or if the next round you start right where you left off, you're right back to where you were.
I mean,
That's my feeling.
wouldn't that be awful?
Yeah, you're right back. Oh, fuck. Here we go again.
Right. And I remember back in the day, I remember reading some things that indicated that if you kill yourself, there's punishment. So it's not even that you come back at the same place, you come back with punishment. And I was like, oh, hell, it's bad enough already. The last thing I need is some cosmic punishment.
On top, yeah.
I don't want to find out the hard way that I made a mistake. So that was one of the few things that kept me going back
And then
when
how
I
do
was.
you show them? And I love you always call it amazing. I remember your words, like how amazing it is when you realize you're not that Judy. Like Judy's there. How do you show them that moment, that what's the mistaken identity, sort of like you thought you were Judy, and not that Judy's bad, and not that Judy has to be obliterated, but let's not give Judy all the keys and all that. Let's not let Judy run the whole show. Also, I'm over here.
Judy's a fuck up.
That's why we
Okay.
love Judy, though.
Judy's a fuck up. Don't give her all the keys.
No,
Don't do that.
you go
That
bad.
won't go well.
No. How do you?
Okay, so here's the thing I would imagine is the case for your friend. Let's try this. If you, James, can remember a time when you were suffering, she won't have to look very hard, but I'm asking you to model this for her right now. Okay, so if you can remember a time when you were really hurting, got one?
Yep.
Remember how it felt, remember what the situation was, remember how it sucked?
Yeah. Nightmare.
Okay, good. So see if in hindsight, which is an extremely valuable tool, people think, I need to be able to do this in the moment. You don't. You can do it in retrospect.
Go back, yeah.
Okay, so see if when you go back to that situation you have in mind, you can find, I'm going to choose my words. I'm going to use words I wouldn't ordinarily use. And some of this is colored a little bit by some Byron Katie-ish stuff. As you look back to that situation, which was a nightmare, see if you can find a part of you back then that knew it was okay.
Yes.
Even in that awful situation.
Yes.
Even then,
yeah.
It was there. And some of what we don't realize is we don't look for it. So I would say to your friend, can she find that part that knows she's okay,
That's really
even
good.
while she's dealing with this?
Like my plane going down and
like that.
my
That
face
part of you, right? That smiled.
Yeah, smiled the whole way, like at that point. Yeah.
Right? There it was.
There's something to put it in words where you say this can't really be happening. Like I don't know if I'm wording it right, but like
because
if,
it isn't.
Because it isn't. Exactly. I tried to word it to my father's girlfriend once. I was trying to explain it, and I said, if ninjas came through the windows right now, I had to make it outrageous, blasting through and kicking in the glass, and they had guns or swords on us. At some point, you might say, how is this really? Because it isn't.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
And the experience of the person is that it is indeed happening. We're not trying to bypass or belittle or ignore or pretend it isn't happening to the person.
Right.
And also,
Always that. And yet,
can you find, as in look for it, that part of you that knows it's okay, even though this is going on? Here
right.
come the ninjas. In the moment, you may not be able to do this. In the moment, it may be all screaming and freaking out and running for the window. I mean, in the moment, you may be looking for a sword. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But there's part of you when they put the gun right here that you almost, and this is the hero in the movie, put your finger in the hole and smile and scare the shooter. It takes their fear away, and they back away because you don't care.
And it may not even be that dramatic, but I will say, you hear about this all the time. I have not experienced this. I don't know if you have. But when people are dying, everybody imagines how awful it must be. Like, let's say you have cancer, or, so there's time. I'm not talking about somebody who, goes out perfectly healthy in the morning and gets hit by a bus or whatever, but people who have extended illnesses, or people who are old and are obviously reaching the end of their life. There's a million stories and examples of this kind of thing. Anybody who's worked in hospice has experienced this many times. Those people are often peaceful.
Yes.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
And
well, little kids with cancer that have to counsel their parents because they feel bad for the parents because they're fine. They're fine,
the
and
parents are all freaked out,
crying.
They are aware of, again, you've frozen, I think.
It's good.
Oh, you're back.
You're good. Yeah.
Okay. They're aware of, again, I'm using this language on purpose. They are aware of that part of them that knows it's okay.
Yes.
And often you will hear, while somebody is dying, that they're blissed out.
Yeah, totally.
There was an experience I had many years ago. Again, thank you, Byron Katie. I was at one of her retreats. It was a long retreat. It was a month retreat. And about 4 or 5 days in, I got a really nasty flu, bronchitis, something. I had a raging fever. I was so sick. I was hallucinating, basically. I was really out of it. I felt like shit. Again, I'm going to keep talking because the screen keeps freezing.
Yeah, it's perfect. I hear you. You never freeze.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's
Judy proof.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have to find a way to bottle that. Yeah, right. What's your advanced astonishment? Right.
Yes.
I felt awful. I was really sick. And also, I was completely blissed out. I was high as a kite on that fever and the sickness. Yeah. I was like, I love you.
Yes. Beautiful.
I was just both. And I think if I wasn't doing that on purpose, I wasn't looking for the part of me that knew it was okay. But I think that when people are suffering, they could look for it. And if you
Yes.
can't do it in the moment, do it in hindsight.
I love that you can mess up in the moment and not spot it, but you can always look back. I've had a mushroom trip that I was a little cocky when I took it. What you normally I would take the mushroom or whatever in total, sacred, quiet, everything perfect. But this time, for some reason, I took it and wasn't set. The doors weren't locked, like I wasn't in my zone. And all of a sudden, it came on fast. I took a little, as I was eating, I said, boy, I'm taking a lot. But it was the twofold again, like watching, like, look, what are you doing?
Right.
And still, I said, that's maybe one cap too many. And I did it. So into the bedroom, sitting still, and here it comes, and I'm not ready. I'm not set. And it was a nightmare. It was like I was on a ship that was the death ship of all death ships. There was no world, just an ocean. And I was going, and the whole house, I used the bathroom at one point, and the toilet bowl looked like endless, like the void, and the whole house was decaying. And I said, well, like Ram Dass, at least I have my legs. I said, well, at least I have my arm. And there was skeleton arms. And the only thing that helped was I looked at the cat. And that was like my constant, like the cat was perfect. The one thing, and just looked like a tiger, just breathing and calm. And I said, okay. And I crawled back. And I remember my teacher had always said there's a still point underneath all that. And that's what you're talking about. Like, get to that. And right under the tsunami of fear and pain, it's right there, as it's a thin, and I just had to, and boom, it switched and everything turned into bliss and fine, So it's just what you're saying.
It takes a little practice. We're not born knowing how to do that. And the mind will resist.
Yes.
But I'm suffering, but this is a real feeling, but I don't want to bypass this very important feeling, which always kills me.
Right.
They're thinking about killing themselves, but they don't want to bypass the feeling. Dude,
right.
Bypass the feeling. Worry about it later. Right?
And I love that you could look back later and see all the wisdom in it and say, wait, I wasn't so bad.
Just I was safe. I was okay. Safe. I didn't know it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I wasn't safe.
Right. I didn't jump off the roof. I sat in a chair.
Right? You get to see the difference between knowing something and how unnecessary and how irrelevant it is. It just doesn't matter. You're still okay, whether you know it or not. Yeah. It feels better to know it. Yeah. And so simply because we like that better feeling, look back and locate that part of you that knows you're okay. Ask, do I have to like this? I mean, there's such liberation in realizing it doesn't matter whether you like a feeling or not. There was a million years ago, I wish this was long before I started saving things that matter to me. I had seen a video of an elephant there was a long safari, it was the savannah, etc. The video was being taken from a car about 4 cars back, 4 cars up, they were all stopped, was a very angry elephant.
Yeah.
And that elephant was furious at the car at the front of the line, and he was destroying the car. I don't know if the people were in the car or not. I've looked for this video many, many times. I've not found it since. Do you think that elephant was saying, I don't like this feeling. This feeling is not, this feeling means I'm a bad elephant. He was just angry. He was allowed to be angry. Fine. Was he okay? Of course.
I love you
Did he
say like feelings aren't important, and the ego hates that.
hates
Hates
it, hates it. And often they hate me for saying it, I have
that.
to say.
But that's
This
okay.
is not, this does not endear me to a certain amount of people.
Right. Which is okay.
I'm managing to survive.
I like one lady that you talked to that said, I think I watched it in the video. It was like I just took 10 Valiums. Like she
Yeah, I
felt
know the
so
one
good
you're
at
talking.
the end.
Yeah,
Remember that lady? She was
it's so
great.
sweet.
And I saw in your face when she recognized it, you saw it right away, and we see it. You just saw that relax. You went from this to this, and she smiled, and
That's
beautiful.
one reason, that one of a handful of reasons why I ask people to have a video with a camera on.
Yeah.
I don't do this with just audio,
Right.
because I am watching what's going on there.
Yeah.
Um, and that helps me direct where I go next. So
You can
I
see
will,
what sticks, what doesn't stick, what hits, what doesn't hit.
and I can also see people watch mental movies
Yeah.
that they're unaware of. So somebody says, yes, I'm a terrible person. I've always been a bad person.
Right.
They're watching a movie
It's like a scroll going by. Yeah.
and they think that movie is them.
Right.
They don't realize it's just a mental picture while they sit here in the chair talking to their computer screen.
Yeah.
Because it isn't even me they're talking to. This is not me. So, yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I have, at this point, quite a few videos of sessions that I have asked clients if I can post, and they have given me a yes, and I have
Oh,
not
good.
posted. I have not posted them.
Oh, yeah. They
I'm
come.
just busy, and I still haven't done it. And a couple of them I had their approval a couple of years ago, and I still haven't posted
But
them.
you have them.
I do have them.
They'll be good for people to see. I think those aha moments where
Yeah.
they actually sense it. You
Like
see
that
it.
lady where she's not even sure what happened. That's a
Oh, you
very
can see it.
common, that's a very common experience when in sessions with me, is
She's
they don't know.
astonished.
Yeah. Doesn't know why or exactly what happened. Um, yeah. So I see
Like,
you,
yeah.
you're working on a question. You got something you want to ask
I'm
me?
just scrolling. Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm just looking. I think what you just said, that's my main thing, is to get something to someone who's watching, that whether they come to see you or not, they can get a little method or something that could help them in
If
their
they can,
practice. If everything else wasn't working, this might do it. I think this gets right to the root.
even if the mind or thought objects, and it will, if people can locate the okayness they have, because they do. Even if I was your friend right now and I'm sitting here miserable and this life is awful and I want to be dead, all my focus is going to that.
Mhm.
And what am I missing? I'm missing okayness.
Yeah.
Chair, skin holding my insides in, air, the ability to think, the internet, somebody to talk to,
Right.
gravity. I'm missing okayness. And it's okayness that I'm supposedly seeking. If I'm seeking that, doesn't it make sense to notice what I've got?
Yeah.
I can't ask you this. You can't be a stand-in for your friend for this question. But if I were to ask, including sleep, and setting aside whether you like or don't like what's happening, what percentage of your day are you okay?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I mean, are we going to ignore that percentage in favor of whatever the percentage is of misery?
And if she says 20%, okay,
It,
and 80
that
fed,
if she says that,
something. Yeah,
that's 20% of what she wants. Doesn't it
right.
deserve some attention?
Yeah, yeah. And let it grow. Yeah.
Most people, though, I will say, I don't know about your friend, most people, that number is reversed. For
Well, they would say 80.
most people, the higher number is okayness. And all of their attention is going to that smaller number.
Mm.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Attention's everything. Yeah, it's so big.
We're going to ignore what we say we are looking for.
Yeah,
Here it is.
right. It's the comedian that kills 1,000 people and everyone's crying, but only notices the one guy sitting there with his arms folded, not laughing.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
focus just on that. Or like I would tell my false girlfriend, she would have trouble with a family member, and I would say, yeah, but you're listening to that guy? Like that guy
Right.
doesn't.
Right.
I said, that's like playing Mozart and 1,000 people love you, or 100,000, but one guy comes and complains and he's deaf. He's
Right.
deaf. He
Right.
didn't even hear the music.
Right.
And you listen to him, don't worry about him.
Right.
You
Or
know?
or you're a musician, you hit one bad note, or you hit.
Yes.
I have a client who's a musician, and one of her concerts she was giving, for 15 seconds, she blanked out and she forgot
Yeah.
where to go.
It
In
happens.
Mozart or Beethoven or somebody, like, you can't, she improvised in the
Right.
middle of, right? Right.
That's great.
And at the end, applause and how wonderful, and she got lots of acclaim, but there were 15 seconds where she was not playing Beethoven, she was playing herself. And all of the mind's attention goes to those 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Where humans are crazy.
Yeah, we are. When I do magic, I stopped, but when I used to do sleight of hand, I know what I'm doing, but you might not, the audience doesn't know. And I can see what I'm doing, and I would imagine them seeing, but they can't see what I'm doing. And I'm so focused on and you can get crazy.
You can make yourself crazy, and you will make yourself crazy. They don't, they're completely clueless. Listen, I've been a dancer my whole life, and I'm still dancing even at my advanced age.
That's great.
And I will get out there and often screw up. First of all, okay.
Yeah. Mistakes are fun.
I was imperfect. Oh no.
Oh no.
Right? And then let's say everybody noticed.
Here he is.
Hello, beautiful baby.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's say everybody saw that you.
Again. Okay.
It's okay. It's good.
But the odds are not a single person noticed me screw up and end up on the wrong foot on the one
Just
count.
you.
Okay.
That's right.
Nobody notices, but if they do, fine.
I love that. Eddie Van Halen would say, if you make a mistake, do it again. If you make a mistake, smile, and then do it again as if you meant it. And
do it
smile
on
again.
purpose and watch what happens.
Yeah.
If you're weak, be weak on purpose. If you're a failure, fail on purpose. If you are a bad person, be bad on purpose. Knock yourself out. Watch what happens.
Love that. It's the wabi-sabi method of it's okay to be cracked or a little imperfect. That is.
Because isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't even like woo-woo fairy, airy-fairy stuff. It is okay to be imperfect. Like, it seriously is okay. It is okay to be not good enough. My gosh, if we killed all the not good enough ones, you know how many would be left?
Not good enough.
Not very many. How can it not be okay?
It's all okay.
maybe we can all just be angry elephants.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really, it's easier said than done. The mind fights this very hard. Understood. But that doesn't mean it's right.
No.
I saw a client today who was working on giving a speech, and she's all worked up about the speech and she's nervous, etc. And if you get up there and screw up on purpose, first of all, that could be very entertaining.
Yes, yes.
Let's see if you can do it. And if you do screw up and everybody in the room hates you and is laughing at you and pointing,
Yeah.
which never happens, but let's say, can you believe what she did?
You're still there. Yeah, it's comedians
So
call that bombing,
what?
right? Bombing. And it's some of them love it. Like they get into it as the people get up and walk out of the room, and they start to clear the room, and and the comedian's bombing. It's an
Right?
amazing
And
feeling. Yeah.
life goes on.
Yeah. There's
I
something
mean, the
there.
mind says, oh no. And it does it very convincingly, and we follow that. But if we actually take a minute and notice, like, is this a literal, actual problem?
Still here. Yeah. I am.
Do I need these strangers to think I'm hot stuff?
Right, right.
What for? What's it give me? It gives me identity. It gives me a sense of self. It gives me an image I like. None of that. Can't take that to the bank.
Right.
That old expression.
Yeah.
It gets us nothing. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. Is there someplace else you wanted to go? I see you thinking.
One question that this is where we might not connect, but that's okay. It'll be fun. I want to hold, I want, you'll say, experience this, but then it's going to go away. And we know that, like it's ebbs and flows, and but maybe I'll ask it in a question. Do you believe that this frequency, maybe you can hone it a little bit like an artist and hone, I know I see you smiling. Can you hone it, or should you just right use, but I have a follow-up to that. If you think no, is it because most
You can
people aren't
try.
going to hone it, or do you think it's impossible to hone it? Because I think you can hone it, but maybe it's only a small amount of 5% or 10% that will hone it, and most people won't. And you're trying to be realistic and tell, you can't all go to a monastery or wherever. Just relax, everything's fine.
How many people do you know who went to a monastery who came out enlightened?
I know Leonard Cohen went to a monastery, came out and lit up 2 cigarettes at once.
Okay.
2.
Okay. And so did it,
was,
right? So
yeah.
I think that you can think you are honing it.
But do you, it's
okay.
I'm saying,
I
are you
don't
saying
think
that most people will not hone it, but a 5% maybe can hone it? If you drop
I don't
everything like
think
I did,
I don't think the individual has the power to make that happen.
even if you drop everything and you have less responsibility and less everything, and you less attachment and less, you're not married and no children, and oh boy, it's like going back to the cave, but you're in the city, but you're not in the cave, but you can.
I see that this is a very loved idea. You adore this idea. There's nothing wrong with that. In the end, if existence doesn't want you to have whatever it is,
Oh,
you
I
ain't
agree.
getting it,
Yeah.
no matter how you
I
hone.
agree.
No matter how you practice, no matter how many books you read, no
I
matter,
agree.
you can do all that, knock yourself out. And you can also, it's a perfectly good way to live your life. It's fine.
Yes.
You can also attribute cause. If you happen to get struck by lightning one day and suddenly you can attribute that to all the work you did before and the books that you read in the monastery, you can attribute that correlation to the stuff that came before. Yes, but
That's Ram Dass saying that when he got the stroke, he was stroked by God, right? That was, you spin it into a little bit of alchemy and magic, and
and yes, he didn't make the stroke happen. So
no,
essentially he was stroked by God, right? So it's God, which is a nice short word. It's laden with stuff for a lot of people. So, for a lot of people, that word doesn't work. But whether you call it consciousness, or you call it existence, or life, or nature, or infinity, or source, or the
Yes.
universe, a lot of people like that word. It's all the same thing we're talking about.
yes,
First of all, if existence didn't want all of it, it wouldn't be here.
no,
If God didn't include anger and bad feelings, they wouldn't be here. Otherwise, it ain't much of a God.
I love what you're saying. Meister Eckhart said something close. He said, and of course, a miracle people might not like this, but you might. He said, if God didn't need the world to connect to the soul, and so I'm messing it up, but paraphrasing, then there would be no world. Like if you didn't need, you need this playground, in a way to
This
make
is
that.
the fun
Yeah,
for
yes.
existence consciousness. We are the fun. We are
Playground.
what makes. How interesting would this life be if everything was all one color, or all one feeling, or all one thought? I mean, talk about boredom. And what species doesn't go through a gamut, a range of feelings, experiences? Out my window, I can, for whatever reason, the backyard here is like a runway for critters.
Oh, that's
And
great.
it's very fun as I sit here.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's baby groundhogs that are running back and forth. There's rabbits lately, baby rabbits, little ones,
Yeah.
fox, deer, etc. Do they not suffer ever?
Right.
I mean, fox eat rabbits
Yeah.
right
This
there out my
anxiety while they
window.
eat, they're looking over their shoulder, a lot of worry and anxiety.
And so this idea that if we do things right, we can set things up so that we experience only enlightenment, bliss, contentment. This is, in my opinion,
But
faulty thinking.
But wait. We know Judy is here. Judy is this out on the stage doing her dancing. And we know that the truth of who you really are is right here, but you're also, we know the whole thing.
Yeah.
We got it. But what if 10% Judy, 90% here, or 20-80, not 50-50, not 30, not 30-70, which that's not so good, but it's better than 0-100. So 50-50, and then Judy, 10 minutes, 10%, 90% here. That's possible. You have to admit, it's not easy, but you can do it.
I don't know if it's possible in this world.
I think you gave the numbers 70-30 once. I don't know where.
I did, but I was talking about okayness.
Okay.
All right. Which is a slight difference than what you're talking about.
Okayness is
it can be.
I'm allowing Judy to run the gamut. I'm letting her.
Okayness is like literally like, am I okay?
I see.
It'll take you where you're talking about.
Right.
Can
you do 90-10 though? 90-10. It's possible.
I don't.
It's possible.
I don't think so.
When you retire and you just do your
I have nothing
thing.
else to do but lay in bed waiting for death.
No. You
then
go out into the world, but you stay in the 90, but a little Judy, and you gotta still
I don't think
be sharp with
you
people.
stay in the 90. I don't think people
80,
stay in
20,
the 90. Okay,
75.
I hate to
Give me
you're
the number. What's the number?
unfortunately
50-50? The best
um
we can do, the best. Muji?
I
What's Muji?
oh my God, Muji is a con artist, is what Muji is.
Yeah, but all right, not Muji.
So he's
Mr.
a bad
Rogers.
example.
Mr. Rogers. 80-20?
I mean, how do we know? How do we know?
We don't know. But
So let me ask you this. Let me
yeah,
ask you this. No, you really want a
not
particular
want it. I
answer.
feel like I could do 80-20. I feel like I'm doing it. To be
Okay.
honest, like,
So
what I'm saying
in
is
this moment
maybe
right now,
in my life right
are you
now, over the last,
right this in this moment right now, are you
yes,
80?
I mean, I'm 100. I'm like so happy to be here with you. What are you kidding me? Look, I'm wearing my now
Okay.
watch. Look
Oh,
now,
I'm so impressed.
right now.
If I want to know what time it is, I know who to ask.
I'll mail you this.
So,
I'll give it to you.
so
Retirement present.
I notice you are equating getting it with feeling good.
Well, there's a bliss when you can see through the dream. It's a lucid dream that you're seeing through.
Sometimes.
It's Dorothy waking up enough to know that the scarecrow is her and the lion is her. And then when she sees the witch is her, the game's over. You got it.
And the house.
Right. And the
the
house.
Tornado.
And her last name is
Right.
Gale.
Is it?
That's her last name, Dorothy Gale. So
Dorothy
when she
Gale.
starts to see it, and the Munchkins are her innocence, and you start to see it, you go, oh, it's the Truman Show. You get it, and you go, oh. But of course, the cat gets sick the next day. You know, the cat makes a jump that maybe, and that the paw isn't working right, and you worry, and you call a vet. Now you call,
And the witch sends the monkeys.
Yes, the monkeys swooping in.
I mean,
they're scary.
I'm ready to break out into song. So I think,
and your name is Judy.
Right?
It's perfect.
I'm a little older than she was, though, at this point.
No,
I don't think I can give you what you want right now.
Why are you fighting it? Is it just your? I'm just wondering. Is it your personal experience, or do you think that most people cannot? Which is a beautiful thing. If I would love for it to be, but I don't know if it's true, that you think most people could never do this. Not everyone's going to the mountaintop. Not everyone could give up everything and totally let go. So
why would existence want everyone to do anything?
Say again. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Why would existence or God have any interest?
True, right. You don't want
everyone doing everything.
Oh, right. It's like all
again,
the fruit
boring.
being ripe at once. Yeah, boring.
Right? Everything's blue, everything is smiley, everything is boring. Okay, so I am not valuing that bliss more than everything else. And also, if what I am is everything, and a case can be made, and we don't have time now, I'm going to have to go in. My cats are getting extremely annoyed with me that I haven't put dinner down. They're suddenly climbing all over to get my attention to make sure, because the fruit bowl is empty.
You came on and dealt with this quite.
I am too. This was so much fun. Oh, it was very fun. I will just say that if I am everything, that includes crappy feelings.
Yeah.
And that includes lack of understanding. And that includes the broken tire and the practice that never yields the desired result. And that includes the practice that appears to yield the desired result. And a case can be made in physics and science and all kinds of ways. A case can be made that we are literally everything we experience. This is literal. This isn't even just woo-woo. This is science.
I love it.
Then is a crappy feeling worse than a good one?
Right.
If I'm both.
So if you realize it's not so bad and there's no good or bad, but thinking makes it so, like Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, then that softens the bad and it's not
It
so
does
bad.
soften.
Yeah.
It can. For
80,
people to
20.
do this on their own, yeah. And the mind is going to fight this. A lot of anybody who's listening to this who is really suffering right now is angry
Yes.
at me.
Which
right?
is
Right, because it's what do you mean? It's not okay. That's where a lot of people listening are going to go. Understood. So if you are, but if for those spiritual types like your friend,
right.
if she is everything, it's just an if. We don't have to figure out if she is or isn't.
Right. I like that.
If she is everything, that means also that she is that bad feeling, and she is the thoughts about it. Then does it need to go away if it's all her?
Just see through it.
Well, if she
See that.
asks the question and plays with the answer, if I ask you to see through something, how?
Right.
What do you do? That basically it's just adding to, for a lot of people, it's adding to failure, because I don't know.
Yeah, I can't
it's
see
a
through
great
it.
idea,
Right.
but
It's like looking through a wall. Yeah.
yeah. So she might get farther or more satisfaction or a feeling she likes better if she answers the question that I asked, is if she is all of it. Again, maybe she is, maybe she isn't. We're not bothering with that right now. But if she is everything, every feeling, every thought, every color that lands on that eyeball, everything, every sound, if she's all of it. First of all, what needs to go away? And second of all, where would it go?
Yeah. You can't go anywhere.
If you're everything, where can you go that isn't you?
Like Stephen Wright, the comedian, said, if you can't have everything, where would you put it? It's always
Exactly.
it's here. It's here. Yeah. That's good.
So this was very fun, and I love seeing what you're attached to. It's very cute, actually.
Well, hopefully we'll have a second date and we'll talk about that.
Okay,
And I wish you the
anytime.
greatest retirement and
Thank
good
you.
luck on the book. And I'll be rooting for you and helping in
Thank
the
you so
background
much.
somewhere.
And I will just say, for anybody who's intrigued, between now and December 1st, I will still see people if they want to book a free session or something like that. After that, I won't be taking any more new clients. I won't be adding to the people I'm already working with. So that's a time frame. If anybody's intrigued or just curious or just wants to get on the line and argue with me, that's okay.
And I could
I can handle that.
I love you live on that. What are you kidding? I could put your website, the Irreverent Mind link on there.
That would be lovely. Thank
It's a
you.
YouTube channel, I think, and a website, I think.
Yeah, the YouTube channel is, I got closed out of the original one. It's a long story, but YouTube will not let me in. I had to start a new one. And so it's unattended. I don't take very good care of it. Just like I hadn't posted,
2024.
Yeah, yay!
So nice.
It was very fun, James. So much fun. Anytime.
I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.